Never share the screen. Right. So let us try and understand first what is a capstone project. Okay, in detail, let me tell you about what is a capstone project, right? And what is this capstone project actually does, and how this particular term has actually come, right? So basically, capstone is nothing but a final project or a final assessment is what a capstone basically is, right? And basically, when it comes to either a course or maybe it's a 30-hour course, or it might be an integrated course, or any kind of academic program. Usually what we do is we conduct or we do one capstone project, right? And for the we can do that Twitter hate speech reduction as a capstone project as well. So particularly in NLP, we can use that. So before that, quickly let me take you, how what are the key aspects and what are the things which need to be considered when we actually talk about a capstone project, right? So bringing in different key aspects or different kinds of learnings is what basically a capstone project is. So it basically involves the real time world problem solving, right? And it also helps in understanding the or showcasing the expertise of the student as well in that particular field. And then also it is also considered in the field of research and development as well, right? And then we also can consider that the findings, the solutions, whatever we have come up, so we can do as under the capstone project. So the first important thing, as we already spoke, which is the selecting the problem statement. So right, so identifying the problem statement in the real world, right? Because we use data science or analytics for solving real world problems, right, or real world cases. So understanding on how or on what purpose we are actually doing this capstone, right? And why we want to implement these capstone project, right? When it comes to the or when it comes to reality, right? And where we are, putting this or we are for what we are finding the solution. So this is what one important aspect where this capstone is basically used. So coming to the next part, what are the steps involved? So there are a lot of understanding the industry, which kind of industry we want to do this capstone project, what is the scope, right, and what is the availability, because also we have to keep it in mind that without the data there is no data science and analytics, right? So even if it is machine learning or deep learning, we need data. So then we try to take a problem statement, right, and we try to describe and set the data set and apply the techniques like the logistic regression, right, gradient boosting, neural networks, and all those things what we have actually done. So coming to the next part, which is building and evaluating the project, right? And in that, we apply the data pre-processing steps like the data cleaning, cleaning the data, feature engineering, and all those things. Then comes the model selection part. Okay. So then we talk about the model selection, and then we try to train the model, right? Then we try to evaluate the model by testing it, how accurate the model is basically. So I'll share the PPT. You can just go through the important things. I'm quickly taking you through, what are the things which will be there in a capstone project. And Twitter hate speech reduction. I'll share you the Python code also that you can consider as a capstone project as well. Okay, so it's a very good project actually. So identifying, it's based on sentiment analysis, which is a very important concept when it comes to the natural language processing. So next is the model evaluation part. So evaluation, you can actually evaluate by different metrics or different appropriate metrics what we can implement, right? So you can use these metrics like the AUC curve, ROC curve, accuracy, right, precision, recall, and so on. So next is tuning the model. So if the model has are not performing well, right? So you can tune it by using the hyperparameters or grid search or randomized search and so on. And next is the techniques like the SHAP or line. I'll just tell you what are these SHAP and line, right, in the next slides. So now, once the project is done, how to prepare a report and how to present your, your project is one of the very important aspects, which is, needs to be considered when it comes to a capstone project. So what are the key things which we actually, keep it in mind when it comes to a capstone project is basically the, first creating the introduction. So what the project is about, what is the problem statement you have identified, how you are addressing that problem statement, right? And which kind of data set you are using it, what is the domain knowledge which is required, what is the domain knowledge which is relevant to that particular project. So you have to explain that. And then which approach you are using it to solve the particular problem. So that is what the methodology basically is. So identifying which kinds of data pre-processing steps or data cleaning steps we are using, and which kind of model selection we are doing, or which kind of model we are selecting, and then which or how we are evaluating them. Excuse me. So that can be considered. So next is the results on your methodologies or whatever you have applied, right? So that can be evaluated by the performance metrics and creating the visualizations and all those things. So next is the discussion part where you have to interpret the results, right? And the model improvements, what can be done. And there are some of the very important, such as the models limitations as well, and bias, data issues, and data model complexity. So that comes after once we have identified what are the potential things, what can be done in the project, what are the key things, what can be what can be identified, or what kind of things are there in the project. So based on that, slowly we can build understanding, the results, and then we can uh, identify the room for improvement, right? So how we can improve that particular project and how we can proceed further. And then we conclude by identifying the key findings, right? So in the key findings we identify the potential, in the future also, what are the potential phases for improvement as well, or potential steps we can take for improving, and all those things we can consider. So next is deployment. So coming to the deployment part, there are two important phases, or two important applications which we can deploy a particular project. So one is the Streamlit, or and the other is the Flask. Okay, so these are the two important applications which the model can be deployed. So this is the structure of how you actually can represent your project. So title, introduction, then your data pre-processing, then your model building, then model evaluation, results, and your conclusion. This is how you present your project. Okay. So next is the feedback and the suggestions part. So in the feedback and suggestions part, it is basically representing how your, or what exactly is there in your capstone project, and you which feedback you can likely receive, and how how the feedback can actually go, how the model is represented, and all those things are considered. Then the common feedback areas, I've mentioned a few, like the model performance, whether the model performance is enough, or we may have to try even more, even more advanced algorithms, which can help in building more good projects, right? Or you can say more good performance in the model. So explainability is where the you can identify who are my target audience, right? So is my target audience, being explained how the model works, and and also using the sharpened line basically to make the predictions. So then can the audience understand why the model makes certain predictions? So that we have to be, we have to be in a position to explain that, how things are working and all those in that perspective. So next thing is the data part. Is the relevant data being considered? That is a very important thing. So what we want and what we have taken, so that should not, there should not be a gap. So there should not be a bias, right? And are there any outliers, or is the data well handled, right? So this is one of the important aspects which also needs to be considered. So then the deployment phase, once you deploy the model, you can consider the improvements like the real-time predictions and all those things. So some of the things are like the presentations also, where you how you're conveying the methodology and all by conveying to people in a better way. right? And next is the model suggestions also. So like how the, sorry, any improvements on suggestions, like, whether you have used a very good algorithms, or, that algorithms are very effective or not, right? The data collected, is it really sufficient, right? And all those things can be, analyzed. So now, the most important thing, when it comes to the machine learning part also, we have to discuss that what is a black box. Okay, so I felt, discussion of certain concepts are very important when you are actually speaking about a project, right? Or, to build a model in your machine learning or deep learning aspect. So the most important thing, maybe you would have heard or you may not have heard, right? So there is a certain thing called as a black box. So what exactly is a black box is? It is something, an environment which is used to test your model, right? So it is basically I can say a mechanism, a environment, a virtual environment where you can test the model, right? So that it works well in the real world. So that you can do with the black box. So examples of black box models which you can do is you can test different kinds of models like the SVMs, DNNs, right? RNNs, ensemble methods, CNNs, all those things you can actually test them. So why they are basically called as the black boxes is it involves multiple layers, right? So each and every aspect where lack of interpretability, non-linearity, if you dig deep here, I've mentioned only a few. So if you dig even more deep, right? So you may get a lot of other aspects as well when we talk about a black box. You can just just keep that in mind. So advantages and disadvantages I'll speak so that we can quickly move through the concept. So the most important thing is, testing before is very good because you can identify the accuracy in the models, and also the models can understand, different nonlinear relationships, and you can automate the features, right? And how you can be using in the real world environment. So these are the certain aspects what we can, think of when it comes to the, black boxes. So disadvantages is it is difficult to justify in certain critical applications. Some ethical issues can arise, and then there are some regulatory issues, and then there are some debugging issues which are sometimes hard to find. So these are some of the disadvantages also which can occur in a black box. So now interpreting this, the concept of black box, right? And the one important thing which we have not discussed is the concept of SHAP. So SHAP is nothing but Shapley additive explanations. So this is a very important feature. Basically, I can say a library where this will actually try to understand each feature which can be used for prediction in a certain model. So it is like an evaluation model. So next is the LIME. So LIME is local interpretable model agnostic explanations. So this is basically it creates a certain model locally, and this will actually do the approximations in the model. So it is basically also which actually tries to measure our model's accuracy. So next is the model's importance, and then we have the PDP, which is the partial dependent plots. Then we have the counterfactual explanations, and then we have the attention mechanisms, right? So these are basically very important for predictions, particularly in the area of NLP, right? So each has its own importance, and each has its own way of actually interpreting or using the things. So when to use black boxes? Yeah, when obviously we have more pressure on us for high accuracy. And then when the interpretability is not that crucial, right? Recommendation systems and all those things. And when we are working basically on the large and the complex data sets. Okay. So alternatives for using the black box, you can use different kinds of models like the linear decision tree logistics, so which are actually known to us. So now let us see this SHAP and LIME, which I was speaking about, right? So these are basically used in the, these are basically used in the black box models, right? So when we talk about the SHAP and LIME, this is basically how to train a black box model, right? So for example, like the different kinds of data sets what we use to build the model. And then we have the Lime implementation. So Lime basically is used for implementing. We have how you can install the line by using pip install, right? So basically that is what the syntax which we use for any other library to be installed. So now going forward, the SHAP implementation, this is basically a tree-based model. It is more diverse and more, useful, which can actually help to understand what exactly you are trying to do with the prediction part, right? And how you can build upon that prediction and how well you are able to build. That is what this SHAP actually tries to make you to understand, or you will actually analyze, or I can say maybe measure, right? How well your predictions can be based upon what you're trying to do. So next is the feature importance. So in the feature importance, we already know what is the feature importance. So identifying the important features in the data set which contributes to our outcome variable. So this is what basically you can think of when it comes to the feature importance part. Okay. So coming to the next thing is compare and analysis. So which method or which methodology is really good, right? And how these differ from how we are trying to explain the models, how to compare the models. So this one you can identify and understand by using this SHAP and line uh, libraries. So next we'll try to see what is Flask and Streamlit. Okay. So this is very important to understand because these two are some of the applications which are used for deploying the project. Okay. So due to time constraint, we couldn't cover this, the deployment of the project, right? Maybe in future we can discuss that. So you can actually deploy the project using two applications, particularly when it comes to Python. So one is Flask and Streamlit, I can say. So let us see what is a Flask. So Flask is a framework. Okay, so framework is like a foundation. Okay, so which actually helps people to develop something, right? For example, like a web applications, games, right? So any kind of applications which can be developed on a framework, right? So here it's already the framework actually helps you to write it in Python, right? And it is also it is a way you can write, you can implement, right, into the web, particularly if you're able, or if you want to launch any one particular application, right, using the machine learning and Python. The next thing is the Streamlit. So Streamlit is nothing but creating a interactive web applications, right? And this is basically ideal for quick deployment, right? And showcasing the models. And this is basically user friendly. So these are both actually, I can say these are frameworks which actually helps us to launch our web applications, or use our applications into the real time, or deploy our models into the real time environment. So now these are some of the ideas, which I felt, which I wanted to share. So you can use the customer churn basically for predictive analytics. So any industries, particularly if you ask me, so I've taken some examples of retail industries, telecom. So you can use the for that, for predictive analytics, you can use the customer churn. That is one idea which I felt I wanted to share. So next is in the NLP part, you can use the sentiment analysis, which is a very strong methodology, I would say. So when it comes to the when it comes to the implementation of natural language processing, because sentiment analysis is a never-ending concept, right? So that is what one capstone project also I would like to share with you also. So Twitter hate speech reduction. So it's not just Twitter, right? It may be Instagram, it might be Facebook, or it might be Amazon reviews or a Flipkart reviews. So any kind of reviews, wherever you can see, it's not doesn't stop all there. So maybe you can also see for a product, for maybe Myntra, right? You have Purple. You have many applications, right? OTT platforms, right? And maybe in OTT we are not writing any reviews, only recommendation systems we are using. Okay, fine. So maybe e-commerce, right? So we can think of e-commerce. So you can implement sentiment analysis on products for any e-commerce. So that is a never-ending process because we have a lot of products and we have a lot of e-commerce websites as well. So next is the fake news detection. This is a very important model, and this is a very challenging, project also idea for implementation because predicting the news whether it is a fake or a real, that is really one of the toughest things which we can actually come up with also. So next thing is the computer vision. We have identifying of images. So basically, particularly for medical diagnosis, we can use whether it might be a skin cancer or it might be a chest X-ray or a heart images or brain images, right? Maybe in a leg whether whether the fracture is there or not. So we can use for different applications to identify if you have more images, right? So medical images we can, or we can think of implementing the models in computer vision. And then we have this idea of object detection. Okay, so this is basically this we cannot much implement in India, but because we are not using this autonomous vehicles, self-driving vehicles, and also maybe this you can. This is also a kind of application which you can think of in the real world, but maybe in India we cannot do that much on this. So next is the time series models. So for time series models, you can use many models which we have discussed also, Arima, Arma, Sarima, and all. And there is also LSTM models which you can implement, right? You can use many data sets from Kaggle or somewhere else also to build your stock price prediction, predicting the price. So you can implement for any for anything, right? The next is the you can use the data sets in UCI website also, and you can also build your energy consumption forecasting also. So maybe if you want, you can do this because it's again based on time series models, right? So next is the recommendation systems. For the recommendation systems, maybe using the movie recommendations and all, right? You can implement, for example, for a OTT data set and all, right? And then also for the product recommendations also, which you can use, particularly on Amazon data sets or Flipkart or any e-commerce websites where you can apply your product recommendation analysis and you can build a model. So next is the healthcare analysis. So for healthcare, you can come up with patient's data where you can analyze or prediction that how is the health of a particular patient. And then the drug recommendations. So you can actually identify the patient symptoms and the medical history, right? And you can predict that how much or what drugs can be recommended and all those things for a particular patient. So you can also do these kinds of projects on for healthcare domain. So next is for the social good. So for social good also you can come up with projects which will identify the disasters, right? Also predicting the accidents, right? So these are some of the things which which you are basically you can think of that you are helping the nation, right? Or the country. So next is the anomaly detection, particularly anomaly. When I say anomalies, these are particularly used in cybersecurity and financial domain, where you can identify the fraud detections and frauds in the cybersecurity domain as well. So next is this is little advanced. Okay, so this will go with concepts like the Gen AI, right? So game development, game environments, right? And using the GANs, which are generative adversarial networks. So for generation of images, something with the creation, right? So one person also asked, for reinforcement learning also, I remember. So you can apply, game environments for particularly when it comes to the reinforcement topics. So next in the explainable AI you can come up with, right? So you can actually pick up an idea. Yeah, right. So in the explainable AI part, you can actually understand the part where you can develop a credit risk modeling, right? So using the techniques like the Sharp, Lime, and all those things. And next thing is, the tools what can be used in the applied ML projects, because that is what we were actually discussing throughout this 30 hour. So you can use different models that I've mentioned here, libraries and models which can be used, right? So what can be used for time series, computer vision, NLP, right? So modeling, visualizations, pre-processing, whatever can be used. So next is how the most important aspect is how to actually brainstorm, right? uh, how to brainstorm end-to-end project, right? Using this Streamlit, Flask and all, we can actually how a particular project will be there, right? How to actually create a end-to-end pipeline, right? So for example, any one particular domain, how much end-to-end you can actually predict, right? So that is what you can actually try to predict using this, applied machine learning. So any model we can, use, or any technique we can use when it comes to deploying the project. So for example, for building, or, for building the project, you can use the logistic regression or, decision tree. So any kind of model which will give you a very good result, right? And then for deployment part, you can use the web application like the Streamlit to deploy the project. So next is the financial fraud. So financial fraud, particularly for financial things, we use the isolation forest, and because these even SVM is also used. Okay, so these projects are basically these basically are used for anomaly detections. They are very good projects. Even SVM is also a very good project which when it comes to anomaly detection. So you can also use the logistic regression to predict the fraudulent transactions. And for the same thing, you can also use the Flask or Streamlit for deploying the project into the real-time environment. So for sales forecasting, it's very important to use the concepts like the linear regression or time series analysis. And you can deploy the project of you can deploy the project particularly in Streamlit web application as well. Okay. So next is the customer churn. So whether the customer will stay in the customer churn is also very important. This is also like a never-ending process, if you ask me, because every company wants to know whether which of my customers are going to leave me, right? And they're going to leave the company and join use some other service, right? So that is very important for who are my loyal customers. So identification of loyal customers, and it's not doesn't stop there. So identifying the loyal customers is one thing, and the other thing is also retaining the loyal customers. So that is very important when it comes to the customer churn. And you can use different models like the random forest, logistic regression, and so on. You can use the Streamlit to deploy the project into the real world. So next is the predictive maintenance. And here for, again, this is basically used on the anomalies, and you can use the Flask. You can also use the regression models for predicting the future. So next is the model driven. So this is basically segmenting the customers. So for model segmentation and all, you can use the k-means clustering, logistic regression, right? So these are very successfully implemented algorithms which are actually used for customer segmentation. So you can use the Streamlit to deploy the project into the real world. So next is the identifying the anomaly detections. Again, cyber security and all. You need the isolation forest, SVMs, like this kinds of models. You can also identify these unusual patterns in the data which are abnormal by using the time series models as well. And then you can use the Flask or Streamlit to deploy the project into the real world. So next is the monitoring the level of pollution, air pollution. So you can use the data which is from the government sources as well, which are collected by the IoT sensors, right? So we already have, I just mentioned also, IoT devices are nothing but the devices which can capture the real-time data. So to identify the air quality and how to make it better, so these you can use by creating or using the the algorithms which are there in anomaly detection for identifying the anomalies. And since it is a pollution, you can use the time series models as well to identify this. And Streamlit is one of the applications which you can deploy this into the real world. So best practices for doing a very good project or deploying the project is basically selecting a real world problem statement and choosing the correct meaningful problem and justifying each and every possible step and why a particular model is actually chosen, and very effective visualization use, for example graphs, charts and all, and then using the sharp line basically for evaluating the model and understanding the models how it actually performs, right? And basically understanding your code and doing the applications on understanding it. Sure, I'll share. I know I'm quickly taking you over. You need some time also to, just go through. I know that's why it's some of the very important things I put. I know, maybe, I'm not doing my best to make you to understand each and every aspect. There is a lot. If you dig deep, there is a lot. Each slide, it will take you a lot of time to understand. So I'm just taking you briefly to to understand what are the things which are there when it comes to a project and how you can deploy, what kind of projects you can implement. So I'm just building on a a smaller note as well. Okay, so I'll share. You can use it. So yeah. Fine. So next is the additional tips which can be used is choosing the relevant topic that we have already discussed. But these are some of the things, and it should be more organized way, and it should be more it should be more referentiable, right? You can have a good references, right, where you can refer the project and use the project in a very good way. So next is the proofread and editing. So basically ensuring and correctness in the writing the implementing the project part. So preparing for the presentation as well. Putting the required slides and practicing or presenting in a good way. So that is one thing which we can actually come up. Okay, so these are some of the things which I wanted to talk about. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. And one important project, just give me a minute. So yesterday I was, talking about the Twitter hate speech. Just give me a minute. I'll share this. Even this Twitter hate speech also. Let me just show you around. So maybe anything you have, you can ask me in the meanwhile. I'll just share you that. Um, so I'll be happy to take your questions. Before your assessment. Chat. You have UCI data sets as well. You can use that. Let me share that link also. Wait, I'll just share the link. So UCI is also one authorized, repository. Okay. So which you can use. I just shared the link. So Kaggle is a very good platform actually for data sets. I really trust Kaggle. It's really good. Apart from that, you can use the UCI also. Even the UCI is really good actually. So you can use that. And apart from that, just give me a minute. So this one you can use as a capstone project, Twitter hate speech detection, which I shared now. Apart from this, I'm sharing this PPT as well. You can just. So any other questions? We have just have 4 minutes. So if you can just let me know if you have any questions. Uh, so uh, once we are done, you'll have your assessment, which ma'am will take over. So maybe you can have any questions. Yeah. So Om Prakash, I just answered yours. Which one you asked yesterday? And apart from that, this yeah data sets one I told you already. And then this shared the data sets link. So apart from this, anything else? Anybody which you can in reinforcement learning, how creating environment. That is a again implementation part that is huge, Om Prakash. So creating an environment is completely different. We have to build up the model learning first of all. The Because basically reinforcement learning is about the ability to uh, ML model or a DL model. I'll get to that. So basically, reinforcement learning is basically combining supervised, unsupervised, and the model's ability to learn on itself, and it's able to differentiate things, and its ability to learn on its own is what reinforcement learning basically is. And creating an environment, we have to create a one particular virtual environment where the model can understand what we are. It's a this is basically this little touches with the AI concepts also. So maybe in future maybe we can discuss on this. So I'm just looking forward for that. So next question I can get, please ask me questions which I can answer within, maybe some 30 seconds. Okay. So something which is, directly a big concepts, if you ask, that is also really difficult because, we don't have that much time also. I'm fine to explain, but so any small things which you feel, which pops into your mind, maybe, just want to clarify something. So how it's different from LLM? It's last. Okay. So LLM is large language model. So when you want to compare reinforcement learning with LLM, you can actually implement your LLM models into reinforcement learning. It's not like how it is different. So basically, learning on your own is what reinforcement that we have already discussed. This LLM models are nothing but models which can learn, right, on what you want to give, right, on your maybe the models are okay. Okay. This question, has actually been, revolving in the internet. Even I've not, if I openly say, I've asked, yeah, I have used ChatGPT, but I've not, even Gemini, Google's Gemini also, I don't feel, very good compared to ChatGPT. Actually, ChatGPT is really good, particularly when it comes to your text data. So DeepSeek, I'm not sure because to be fair, I've not used. So openly to tell you the answer for that question, I've not used the DeepSeek, so I'm not sure on that. So I cannot give my opinion. Maybe it's a very new, very new application which has actually come out. I don't know. Many people have not even used. I guess so I feel many have not even used. So I cannot comment on this. So apart from that, anything else? So I have to try. Even yeah, you have given me a thought also to understand the LLM model on DeepSeek as well. So just see, let's see how that works and how it can understand what we want, and that's what basically these models are. They actually try to understand, learn from what people ask. It can build your models on so it's a part of reinforcement learning, I would say. Or LLM models are basically part of reinforcement learning. So, anything else? Ma'am, maybe I think you can start conducting the assessment, I guess. You have asked for, it's already. Okay, Om Prakash. So, 8:15, so maybe.
Yeah, okay, sir. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable
Yes.
class. So we'll meet again by on our next wonderful SDP session. Okay. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much for your valuable feed like classes, everything. So yeah.
Ma'am, do you need me to be, or
No,
should I?
no, sir, you can drop the session, no issues.
Sure, sure, sure. Okay, ma'am, done. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, students, I'm sharing the link now. So it will be the test link as I told. Till 9 p.m. the session link will be open. Okay. I mean the assessment link will be open. Okay. Kindly read out the questions carefully and answer it. Okay, this assessment is also a very important. So don't neglect it. Kindly read out the questions carefully and take over the test. Okay. I'm sharing it now. And some are asking about the attendance link. Once we are complete with this assessment, then I will share the attendance link. Okay. Yeah, the assessment link has been shared on the chat. Kindly go ahead and start the session. As I told, read out the questions carefully and answer it properly. you done with the assessment? I'm sharing attendance link on chat. Kindly mark your attendance. And if you guys have any questions or to be asked, you can just ask her. And some are asking about the certificate. Like certificate, you will get it in 10 to 15 working days. For your registered mail ID, we will share you the certificate. You will receive it within 10 to 15 working days within that. If you have not completed the assessment, kindly complete it. It will close us at 9 o'clock. Till 9 o'clock, you can take over the test. And also you can mark your attendance. If you are done with the test, you can mark your attendance. Okay, I hope you all marked your attendance and also done with the test. Okay, thank you all. Thank you for joining this wonderful session. Someone asking about the certificate, as I already informed, within 10 to 15 working days, you will receive your certificate for your register mail ID. Okay. So yeah, thank you all. Thank you for joining the wonderful session. If you have any query or any issues, you can drop a mail to edl@xlr.com. We will help you out over there. I'm just sharing the mail ID on the chat. That is edl@xlr.com. Okay. Okay. Thank you all. Good night. Thank you for joining.